Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and a little sick. That's why I sound a little different. I just had to turn off. I have the fan and the space heater going. I need the fan for the noise because I'm used to it, but then the fan is cold, obviously, and I've got a little fever. So then I turn on the heat, and I'm pretty much sure I'm gonna wake up to storm clouds formulating in this room next time I wake up. But anyway, so I just finished. I don't remember. I forgot. Usually I memorize the at least the episode title. I don't know. I started this one like it's called Dear Doctor. And it's the one where everyone always puts the blame on Commander Jonathan Archer for committing genocide. Geez, why don't we call it genocide after Jonathan Archer? Genocide, but it was actually all Phlox's idea, and Archer just kind of went along with it because he's a kind of a dummy. Have you ever noticed that? Like everyone on the other shows, they're very quick on the uptake, and he always has like this hound dog expression, and you can tell he's trying, like in his head, he's like, act like you understand, act like you understand, and you can tell everyone else in the scene's like, he doesn't understand, he doesn't get this, does he? So this one, I watched it over a couple of days, so I was just busy. It wasn't that it was a boring or anything like this. It was weird because I've been doing all these. Uh, I'm basically formulating the prosecution. For his court martial. So we did the episode where he emotionally blackmailed a clone into killing himself. We have the one where he stole a warp core and left some innocent people drifting in space. And then I read in the comments that people said, you know, he did need to speed back to Earth, but they resolved that storyline in like a month. And they never put like a line of dialogue like, hey, let's go find those guys who are slowly steaming 3 years to their own planet. They're probably dead. They're definitely dead. Anyway, this one it wasn't as like aggravating where everyone are just doing things that are clearly evil. Like when the Trip clone with the accelerated life was getting close to dying and like no one wanted to talk to him. They're like, can you just hurry up and die, please? But this one was just super strange because they did an A plot about should we commit genocide or not? It's like they sent a mash note. Should we commit genocide? Check yes or no. And then the subplot is Dr. Phlox might have a date. So usually one of the things you do, and typically in writing, is your A story and your B story will seem to not have to do with each other at all. But then, as they weave in and out of each other, they will kind of complement each other or contrast each other. And no, this is literally like at the beginning of the season, they just, let's have Phlox date a human. Who? I don't know, just some random crewman that just pops out, you know. And I was asking my buddy, I go, how big is the ship's complement? Is it like 200 people? He goes, no, it's like 80. It's like, if it's 80, that's, everyone knows each other. You don't have, you'd at least see people, you know, like, okay, whatever. So there's this planet, the Valaxians and the Menk. The Valaxians are advanced, but not advanced enough. They're not like, they don't have warp capable ships. But they have ships that can go, I don't know, whatever, subwarp. And they find one of their ships, they go to their planet, they're like, hey, we're dying, we're trying to find people that'll help us or give us, you know, warp engines. But this is pre-Starfleet, but it's also pre-Prime Directive. By the way, the direction and writing of this is all over the place, and they give basically later on when Archer has decided to let genocide happen, he's not committing genocide, he's just letting it happen. They give him this rousing speech and it's so poorly written. He's like, one day there will be a set of doctrines, some sort of directive. And I'm like, oh my God. I almost think I wanted his personal chef to walk in and be like, your prime rib is ready, sir. It's prime. It's prime. Yeah, so back to that directive I was talking to. It's prime. But Oh, that's what the CBS All Access Christopher Pike Spock Enterprise TV show that isn't going to happen could have been called Star Trek Prime Directive. There, blah, done. Or you could set it. You could call it set phasers for fun, which is what like every trash journalist did for every Star Trek movie during the 1980s. I'm not kidding. They actually did that. But anyway, so you got the two species on one planet, and they keep pointing out that, in most planets, there'll be one humanoid species that will become dominant. And they make the reference to the Cro-Magnon and Neanderthals, as they say, not thals. So you have the Valexians, who are advanced-ish. They're probably like we are going to be in about 100 years. And then you got the Menk, who are fairly primitive. Not exactly Cro-Magnons, but or Neanderthals, but they're primitive. And at first it kind of looks like they might be slaves, but then not really. It's kind of more subtle than that. So the Valexians I don't know, kind of inbred or something like that. Their genetic abnormalities are so complex that there's not really a immediate cure. But then Phlox takes 30 blood samples and finds one in like 12 hours. But then they're like, hey, the Valexians are going to die. The Menk are actually evolving, so the Menk would take over. The destiny of this planet is for the Valexians to die out, and then the Menk to evolve and be the dominant humanoid species, which would be fine if you had never spoken to them, if you hadn't visited them, if you had just passed by and checked the planet with your sensors and sent down some probes and maybe an away team disguised as a cliff face over a very conveniently located village with a hologram that goes on and off, not pointing any fingers, although there was an episode and a movie based on that plot device. But if you're not going to interact and you go, hey, it's their destiny. But once you start, like, they literally develop the cure, and then they basically just be like, okay, so walk with me. What if we didn't cure them? So Phlox, and again, this is very, very weighty, and I considered it to be a wrong decision. Once you've involved yourself, once you've talked about warp, once you've done tests, like, you can't just go back into space and say, oh, their destiny, well, their destiny brought you to them, so you're part of their destiny now. Meanwhile, while they're doing this, they're literally doing like 6 scenes of he's talking. What is her name? Sato. She's like, so you guys like each other? And he's like, kind of. She's like, do you like her or do you like her? Well, what's the difference? Meanwhile, there's like 500 million Valexians who are dying. So it's very, very odd. Now, one of the good things about Enterprise is it's pre-Starfleet, it's pre-Prime Directive, it's pre-Starfleet Academy. So one of the points is that they make the wrong decisions. But then they make the wrong decisions, and then they just wrap it up like it's any other TV show. It's like, oh, we wrapped up plot A, genocide, essentially. And, but Phlox just, invited Ensign, Pretty Toes over to the galley. By the way, does that sound like a trash date or what? It's a very kind of like modern Navy vehicle. Like, it's not a nice galley. They don't have 10 forward. It's like, do you just want to sit? Do they even have a window in the galley? I don't think they do. Yeah, like they have the galley on Discovery, and it's kind of nice. But it's so stupid. Like, and I just can't get over Archer and how dumb he is. Like, you could just see he doesn't understand. You can see his first reaction to everything is to get angry. And then he'll give some really self-aggrandizing speech that really fixes nothing. It just basically lets him sleep to screw up. Oh, and they even have a deal where I don't know my buddy tells me about it. I don't know the lore of Enterprise that well. But he was saying, the Vulcans, they had, I guess, like missions on, or like embassies on Earth. And Earth was like, oh, give us all your technology. They're like, you're kind of dumb and you guys start a lot of wars. You're just going to go into space and start a lot of wars. Looking at you, Jonathan Archer. But so Jonathan Archer he's like, this is kind of like the Vulcans, they were on our planet and they wouldn't give us technology. And that really bothered us. Oh, by the way, we're not going to give you freaking a cure that we created in 12 hours. Bye. And then the most insulting thing is he comes down. It's a whole planet of a species that's dying. And he has this little plexiglass box of like 30 vials of, I'm not kidding. It's a pain reliever. It's freaking Motrin. He goes down there and he's like, well, first of all, he doesn't say, hey, we have a cure. He's like, it's, things, relationship status, it's complicated. So he's like, here, this will help with your symptoms. And then he turns into like a 1950s sitcom dad. He's like, you know what? Good golly gum gosh, maybe you guys will do your own cure in the next 10 years. I could totally see that happening. And then you can see him and Phlox were like rolling their eyes like, these guys are DOA. So while we are accumulating, let's accumulate Jonathan Archer's crimes. Emotionally browbeat a sentient clone into sacrificing himself to give up a very tiny portion of... That's another one where they... Oh, wait. It wasn't that they didn't have the cure. It's that Phlox didn't even try. Phlox is like the freaking Mangala of the Enterprise. What the hell is going on? He's like... Later on, like... what was it called? Sim. He's like... I heard there's a cure. And Phlox is like... Oh, well, the cure's not guaranteed. It's like... Well, it's definitely not guaranteed if you don't even try. So, okay, so... honestly, Archer and Phlox need to be tried together. So, emotionally blackmailed, basically ordered a sentient clone to kill himself. In no way tried to find a cure for him, even though it sounded like the research had pretty much been started. Stole a warp core from a ship that was give them a distress signal. No intention. There was no subspace like, hey, somebody go get this ship, or hey, we just beat the Traltraxians or whoever. Let's go find that ship before they all starve to death, because we told them we gave them 3 years worth of food, but that's not a real thing. The whole ship can't hold 3 years worth of food. We gave them like 3 months. We just purposely did the math wrong on the bill of lading. Emotionally blackmail a sentient clone into sacrificing himself. Basically leave a ship full of people to starve to death and die in deep space. And then find the cure for a dying species and then give them 30 vials of space Motrin instead. What the hell is going on? But at least he furrowed his brows for 34 seconds, so we know he's a good guy at heart. Anyway, so I used to do, well, it was a long time ago. 3 days ago, I did videos every day. I kind of got a little busy. But I noticed that the Enterprise videos, they do okay. I thought they weren't even going to do 1,000. They do fine. So if you have another cringy or super cool episode of Enterprise, suggest it to me and I might do a video. I think tomorrow, Red Letter Media did their review of Avengers Endgame. And since Mike Stoklasa loves Star Trek, he always steers the conversation towards Star Trek. So he points out that the final episode of Voyager, which I don't really like, is called Endgame, and it involved time travel. And I think I'm going to do that one tomorrow. I'm either going to do the last two videos or 2 episodes of Gotham, or I'll do both of those. So just decide on. I'll look at the comments. What do you want me to do tomorrow? Last 2 episodes of Gotham, or probably just the last episode of Gotham? Or the last episode of Voyager. Anyway, thanks for watching. Jonathan Archer. I'm sure they don't have a death penalty in Starfleet. I can't believe doesn't he become like the first president of the Federation? He should have become the first prisoner of the Federation. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll have a new video up tomorrow. Bye.